afternoon, everyone. Dakota Punzel here with the Alabama Best Practices Center. So glad that you're here with us today for Concise Conversations with Kathy and Jackie. Today's guest is Dr. Paige Raney, Chief Academic Officer of Guntersville City Schools. We're so happy to have her here with us today to join the ranks of our guests for Concise Conversations. So with that, I'm going to step into the background as always and kick it over to Kathy.
Well, welcome. Happy Friday, everyone. We are so delighted to have our friend Paige Raney with us for our guest today. Paige is the Chief Academic Officer at Guntersville City Schools, and we are delighted to have a conversation about what is essential during this 15 minutes. So, Paige, we are so glad that you've been able to join us.
Thank you for asking me. I just have so much respect for the Alabama Best Practices Center. We have learned so many things from all of you, so this will be a fun Friday.
I'm looking forward to the conversation. My friend and colleague, Jackie Walsh, is also looking forward to talking with you, and she's going to ask you the first question.
Great.
Oh, you bet I am, Kathy. It's such a pleasure to have Paige with us today. Thank you, Paige. You know, Paige, we've known you for many years now. And one thing or two things I know about Paige are these. Paige is a learner and she is a planner. And I could say, and she's a leader. I can say three things about Paige. But Paige, I wonder, as you reflect on your learning specifically of these last 2 to 3 months, how are you using those learnings to inform both what and how you plan this summer and how you're planning really for the fall as we begin again, kind of an unusual school beginning?
Jackie, thank you so much for that question. We have really been overwhelmed at times, to be transparent. We have been uncertain at times. We have been separated. And so it's led all of us as leaders, as our teachers in our district, to a different place. But where we are now is that after things are smoothing out a little bit, we are accustomed to this new uncertain time somewhat, that things will probably never be exactly the same in our schools. We are comforted in that the essential things remain the essential things. And so we have really continued to encourage our teachers, encourage our principals. The essential standards are still important. We have to spend time with prioritizing those for our kids because they're coming to a new grade. The kids are moving to a new grade, and we have to have spent time thinking about what are the priorities of those standards? What do we want kids to know and be able to do? And our goal remains the same, whether we're in an online version, a blended version, or we are traditional face-to-face. That the platform does not matter. We have to be firm on what we are teaching. We really talk about that a lot, having that happen in a collaborative manner, because teachers have to agree that what is taught to all of our learners. As principals, there's a comfort in that, and district leaders, because 5th grade English language arts has the same standards, and we're working on those same standards. No matter whose geometry class you're in, you are learning those same prioritized standards, not eliminating standards, but some things are more heavily taught in certain grades. So we're focused on that.
So you mentioned collaboration, because it sounds like really focusing on those things that are essential, identifying the key standards, and also recognizing that there has to be time to help make sure students have caught up from this last year, but that are also ready to go forward. So what role is collaboration playing in your planning?
You know, Kathy, that's a great question too. We thank goodness, before all of this began, we organized our teachers a couple of years ago into collaborative teams. And so every teacher in the district, through the process of Root Dufour's beautiful framework of professional learning communities, we have collaborative teams in place. And so those are really the engines in the district that work on those ideas of collaborating together. I'm not sure what we would have done in the process of switching to online schooling, because I watched teams in just this beautiful format come together, and it was really a natural process. We just had to learn the Zoom and Google Meet and all those ways to come together. It looked differently, but not the essence of what we did. And so just kind of moving forward with what's essential, they're collaborating now around those standards and continuing to think about assessments, because that's how we're going to be able to determine where are the kids and what are the gaps that we need to do. So, and really, do we need all learners to reteach this? Are we just not there from a prior grade level standard? Or do we need to just do it for some students, maybe in a tiered support system? And all those scheduling things are being handled right now, because you know what? Those are things we can control. Those are things we know how to do as teachers and principals. So while there's lots changing, those things have not changed. John Hattie has, in his studies said the response to intervention work is very high effect size. We can move kids if we do it well. And so we're thinking about those simple acts of getting kids what they need during the day.
Paige, I really appreciate what you said about focusing on those things you can control. Mm-hmm. I know too that you are very committed to the use of feedback, both feedback in the classroom and feedback on the broader scale of feedback from community to district, parents to teachers, and so forth. So I wonder if you would talk a little bit about how you are using feedback at all levels in your district to ensure that you are ready.
Right. That's a great question too, Jackie. Feedback we determined really last summer was something that we needed to improve on. And we have in place I'm not sure how we would make things happen without this group of people either, the guiding coalition, but we call it the district leadership team. And so it's representatives from each school that come together. And with that team last summer, we really started studying because we are good studiers and then implement the work that we do. But we started studying feedback and how much we didn't know about that. And so we are going to actually continue that work this summer when our leadership team comes together in July to continue to get better, because when you are in an online environment, feedback is vital. Feedback is how we do it, continuing to give students it. The other side of the screen presents even more barriers with that, but maybe not, because technology we've figured out has given us some tools to give really good feedback. It's just a different learning. So we're focusing on these things this summer, really encouraging our teachers to give our students 1 or 2 shifts that they can make about the work or about the whatever is the conversation, whatever is the task, and let them practice those 1 or 2 shifts. If you think about it, that's what music teachers do. They do it so well. They give incredible feedback. We were on an instructional round at one of our high schools, and we were with the one of our music classes, and we walked out and we looked at one another and said, every teacher needs to come see feedback in that form. So it was just strong and constant and ongoing. And as he corrected the trumpets and the saxophone, it just all got better, the whole process together. And that's really how a classroom should look. But we also have encouraged, through the use of surveys, feedback from our parents and our teachers and how to move forward. We wanted to know what they did. And here's the thing, every day this week, we've all gathered as the district leadership team, and we have come together and we have read every single comment. And we've started to group those ideas from people. And eventually you kind of get data saturation. People begin to say the same things, but we had really great response. So I just encourage people, ask parents what they're thinking. You cannot please everyone. Everyone's needs are so very different, and it's going to look very unique as we move forward. But we ask, and we are considering all of that and using that information to get better. Some things that our parents told us, some things that our teachers told us, they were just like, yes, we didn't even think of that. And so until you ask, you don't get the feedback.
So Paige, you've piqued my curiosity. What are some of the things you've learned from the survey and the parents? What are they telling you?
You know, the parents overall say, and I don't think this is different in any district, they want us to keep their children safe and they want us to do our very best. And we have incredible teams in our district. People are handling that, and our transportation folks are the best around, and our child nutrition people. How will that happen? And how will our nurses? I mean, but here's the thing that we have learned too. They're also tucked right under keeping kids safe is they want their kids to be smart, and they want their children to come to school and do what school's supposed to do and have them learning at high levels. And so we cannot veer off from those essentials, the standards, the assessments, teaching and learning, giving good feedback, because that's why schools exist, so that students do that. Now, all of this other on this perimeter is going to be happening in this beautiful format, and that we will have protocols in place when a child may become sick, or what happens when this occurs. We will have processes and procedures in place, and everybody will be informed about that. Those things are ongoing now, but that's what our parents are telling us. Keep them safe, make them smart.
Really great themes for sure. And you know, I was reflecting, Paige, as you were talking. The online environment in some ways has afforded us with an opportunity to become more intentional, you know, more intentional in seeking and using feedback, more intentional in communicating with all parents, more intentional in so many areas. And so I just applaud you for raising that theme, really, in my mind, of intentionality. It all requires leadership.
That's right.
As you were talking early on in response to Kathy's question about collaboration, I was again reflecting, you are releasing leadership at every level in your district. And that is an essential for sure. And I wonder if you would comment as we come near the end of our time on what you feel to be the value of leadership and how you are really tapping everyone in your district on the shoulder and saying, you know, you're a leader too.
That's right. Jackie, you've hit on one of my favorite topics, if not my favorite topic. And it's not been over my entire career that I've realized how important strong, firm, consistent, compassionate leadership really is. But it's what is sustaining us, I think, during this time. And we see leadership in different capacities in our district. Not only district leadership, absolutely vital. One of the things that we talk about that we put in place that we did not know, I referenced this earlier, was that PLC framework, that professional learning community. When we say essential standards in Guntersville City Schools, people know what we're talking about, okay? When we say common assessments, people know. Now, are we there all? Never. It's a process that's ongoing always. But our language was prior to this, global pandemic, and that really sustained us. So we also have learned to say no to very good things. You have to clear out clutter as district leaders so that you can keep those essential things essential. I don't know about you, but it's just overwhelming, the input that, resources you can purchase and all these things. And they're all wonderful, very good things, but you can't do all of that. So as district leaders, we've had to make decisions about that. We've had to reflect on how, when, what exactly is going to be communicated, because when we say it, it's headline news, and people take that, and we want to make sure it's good and it's useful to them and they understand it. We look at principal leadership. Right now, the most important things that our principals are doing is that master schedule and making sure that we have time for these things that we value and essential. We have some master schedule gurus, and that's way over my head often. I'm like, I'm here to support you, but they know how to shift that. One of our schools has something called, several have all different things, but one in particular has something called win time, what I need time. It's for every student to go to an intervention or an extension activity time to get what they need. Okay. And finally, teacher leaders. Teachers are the engines of any school system, and they have to study data. They have to initiate this. Y'all, we need to know what the essential standards are. Let's prioritize them. But ultimately, I believe teacher leaders make a school system because they employ collective efficacy, and they stand up and they say, I believe we can do this. I believe together we can, whether it's online or whether it's face-to-face or some version in between. That belief, I think, transcends whatever we're trying to do in the global pandemic we're in and the uncertain times. And that we've seen it is true because it's the sustaining part. And throughout that, it's a gift to clear clutter for people across so that they can work on that specific work.
Paige, as as Jackie and I both listened to you, the thing that came to mind was confidence, that you're approaching this time with great confidence by focusing on the essentials, by listening to your students, your parents, and your teachers, and by focusing on what really is essential. You're going to be great. You're going to be ready for the coming school year. And I know people really appreciated the time that you spent with us. And I want to thank you so much for this time.
Thank you. It was fun. It goes by fast.
It does. It goes by incredibly.
It's like, yeah, that's right. We're certainly a work in process. And I think every leader is as well. There are some nights that I'm awake, and that's all right because we're working through it. But at the end of the day, I have a great team. And that's what makes it all good.
That's great. Well, thank you again. Well, Dakota, back to you. Tell us about what's up for next week.
Absolutely. So thank you again, Dr. Raney, for being our guest this week. It was a great conversation. Nice to learn more about Guntersville City Schools. But next week, just a quick preview. Brian Goodwin, Chief Executive Officer for McCrell International, will be our guest. Very excited to have him. And as always, if you would like to request a topic or be a guest on Concise Conversations with Kathy and Jackie, email me at dakota@aplusala.org, and I will be sure to get you on the schedule. We hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks again, Dr. Raney, and we'll see y'all next week.